Are you aware that taxes are optional?
So the way I do it is I just show people how to reduce and still pay instead of opt out. But I've seen people that don't know how to do it to go to jail.
Yep.
More doesn't equal better. More equals robbing moments and presence. And if I can't be present, no matter how much money I have, I'm not wealthy.
Create a $1 million company based off something that is other than what you're currently doing. What would you choose?
My cheat code would be, I'm gonna be your spokesperson for the next 6 months. And you're just gonna pay me based upon the increased revenue that I can directly generate for you. 80+% of what we need to know about money doesn't matter. I don't love investing in real estate. There's a few reasons. One, if I'm investing in real estate, I'm talking to bankers, attorneys, property managers, maintenance people, and tenants. Like, that's just not my jam. My real estate's the
Blessings and blessings, everybody. It is I, Mr. Preston Smiles, and I am extraordinarily excited to bring to each and every one of you a gangster, a legend, a funny guy, a father, a beast when it comes to the conversations of really life, but through the lens of money. I've done enough research to know, and game recognized game, that this guy is the truth. Everybody give a warm, beautiful round of applause, wherever you are, cyberly, to Mr. Garrett Gunderson. Sir.
What's up, man? So good to be here.
Good to have you. If you haven't bought this book, by the way, you need to get it. Alexi already had it in her Rolodex. And what's the other one? The
Killing Sacred Cows.
That one. She's got that one too. And then the
What Would the Rockefellers Do?
That one.
Yeah.
That one.
That's my most popular one.
Yes.
It's like just that one keeps going. Yeah.
Awesome. So why are you in Austin? Let's start there.
So I spoke to a group of financial advisors yesterday. So yeah.
Epic.
Yeah. And then just decided, it'd be fun to do some in-person podcasts.
Yes.
Someone connected us. I was stoked about that.
Yes.
And then gonna have a dinner with some friends tonight and head home. Like to maximize a trip.
I
When
feel
I'm
that.
away from my family, I'm like, I want to meet some great people, have some
Yes.
good conversations, and it just makes for more fun.
Yeah. What is that? What's fun to you?
Comedy is definitely fun. And like yesterday, I'm speaking to a room that like opening guy, great speaker, amazing content, but very serious.
Yes.
Right? Guy before me, extraordinarily technical, talking about taxes. And I just get up there and like every time I tell a joke, it resets time.
Yes.
And like everybody's coming up and talking afterwards. I used to just be really intense as a speaker.
Yes.
And I thought intensity equaled great.
Yes. Yes.
Yelling, like just because you're loud doesn't make it great. Then when I started using humor, everything changed.
Yeah.
It was just like more fun. Like if you're laughing, you're just in the moment.
Facts.
And you feel like, oh yeah, we're on the same wavelength.
Exactly. To me, comedy and music are the great equalizers. Like if you can infuse those into anything.
I just got chills. Dude,
Yeah, right.
For real.
And instantly bring people to this sort of like, okay, I'm here.
Music's so magical,
Bro.
that it's like, I mean, how much of our life is like a soundtrack that
Yes.
you like hear a song, it takes you somewhere. Or like I've just listened to music, I'm like, how did someone create this? It just feels like magic.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Because we like to play.
Yeah.
You have to come back as a musician. At any point in human history, who do you come back as and why?
Damn. Any musician. Like, but I get to be me as that musician.
Nope. You are
I
that
gotta be
busy.
that
You gotta
dude.
die how they die. You gotta live how they
shit.
live. You get to play and like do whatever they do, but you are that person. It's just another timeline that you're gonna be living.
I mean, I gotta die like John Lennon.
John Lennon?
I gotta be like a philosopher like John Lennon.
Yes.
I gotta feel the love and the hate and the release of boredom for everybody, and like just writing all this music, but also get shot.
Yes.
But I'd take it.
You take it.
Yeah.
See, I think I would go with Jim Morrison. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's just something I feel like he was in such a pocket. And I like John Lennon too. He's much cleaner with it, right?
I mean, I would not enjoy the like. Remember, like the "I Want to Hold Your Hand" music. I don't
Yes.
like that version of the Beatles. I like Revolver, but Lennon pushed them.
Yes.
he's like, we're gonna play music backwards. We're
Yes.
gonna like use things that aren't instruments to make
Yes.
sounds. And I was like, damn, dude, how gangster was that, right?
Yes, truth. Okay, so we're clearly old because we know these things.
Right.
How young are you?
I'm 46.
46. Okay, dope. And for the spiritual woo-woo people out there, what's your sign?
Leo.
Leo. Of course you are.
Yeah.
When is your actual birthday?
August 11th.
Oh, okay.
August 11th this year.
Okay.
My comedy special hit Amazon Prime on August 11th. But this is, dude, I felt young that day because my sons, who were 17 and 19 at the time, were like, we're going to JPEG Mafia.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. And they sent me that song. Have you ever heard Either On or Off the Drugs by JPEG Mafia?
No.
It's like a masterpiece. It's so beautiful. So I'm like, all right, we're going to JPEG Mafia.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest dude in the room for
Yes.
sure. And it's like mosh pit rap, right? Yes. And he's like jumping all over the stage and going from side to side. I was like, dude, this guy is such a performer. And I was just like grateful that my kids introduced me to that music. Because my kids are so deeply into music.
Yes.
Like they're just constantly showing me new songs,
That's
new
cool.
artists. Although I'll admit, like, my youngest is totally into like all the songs about lean and it's just that Southern, you know, like, but it's like I get it. The beats are just phenomenal.
Yeah. And it helps them tap into a primal aspect that is within every, especially boy, especially at that time.
Right.
Let me just rewind for a moment because we are 11 days apart. So I'm August 1st.
So is that a Leo as well?
Yes. Yeah. But I'll be 45. You'll be 47.
Yep. Exactly.
Let's fucking go, bro. I love that. And I just want to acknowledge you. And everybody knows, listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, that we get the nuggets in the conversation, right? And it's less about the stuff you get and the life you live, right? And I want to acknowledge you just by way of most people would never invite their dad to a concert. Like, that's just not a thing most people would do. It's not how I grew up. It's not how, like, if you interviewed 1,000 boys, they'd be like, bro, of course not, right? So there's something you've been doing and being that made that possible. Can you give us some of the secret sauce for the parents out there?
First, I'll just say this. Like, even though I'm a money and wealth guy, I'm a life design and energy guy first. And so here's my biggest money mistake that I did for my kids. So I don't know if it was a real mistake, but like my oldest was like really getting into music. And like, okay, first off, he had like auditory processing and like really wouldn't go in public at a certain point of his life and wouldn't talk in a certain age. And my wife and I are like, we're gonna do whatever the fuck it takes to get him to be the kid that he is meant to be. Yeah. And one day he's like, hey, I have a piano recital tonight. Now, I've never heard him play piano before, dude. Never even heard him play. And we go and he has to walk up on stage, announce a song that he's going to play and start playing. And dude, it's like, I was like, to my wife, I'm like, can he play piano? Yes. She's like, I don't know.
We'll find out.
Like, shit. I'm like palm sweaty, sitting in the chair, and he just
rips.
It was like a video game song that he played. I don't know, some bullshit, but it was like tears running down my face, right? Then my youngest starts playing piano, doesn't tell us. We find out through one of his friends that he has a piano recital. Don't tell him we're coming. Or like my mother and father, my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law. We show up. We're like sixth of the crowd, and he just walks in like, "Are you gotta be shitting?"
He's like,
right?
What? Oh,
but again, flawless, just plays, and I'm just like emotional.
Yes.
So when my oldest starts getting into music, I had this opportunity to buy an NFT, but it was stupidly overpriced. But it gave you direct access to write a song with Stevie Aoki. And I was like, I'm doing it. My wife was like, we haven't put in a backyard yet. Yes. And you just spent how much on this NFT? I'm like, babe, we could sell it later. Yeah. It gives us access. We write a song. And so I take my kids to Aoki's house, right? Yeah. And we're working on a song, which I was in the booth for about an hour and 5 minutes. And there's about 6 words I say in the song. But still, I had my sons there, right? Yes. And my oldest was just talking to Aoki the whole time, asking him tons of questions, learning about Ableton. Yes. And the coolest moment was Aoki pulled me aside. He goes, dude, if I ever have kids, I hope they're as kind as yours. Yes. And we didn't have like any conversation how to behave. Yes. It's just who they are. They're just kind kids. Yep. So we've done that right. And, you know, Aoki shut down that NFT, so I lost 6 figures. But at the same time, it was a magical night. It was a magical night, you know?
That's actually a good lesson, and I want to pull that apart for a second. Yeah. Because I have this community called Spiritual Millionaire Academy, and every week they come in and ask questions. And a lot of people, because they're quote unquote on the outside, they think that things, gathering and collecting things, is the thing. Mm-hmm. You are rich, right, on multiple levels, and you hang around rich people. What do the rich know that the poor don't?
Oh, yeah. One is like the proximity is power. Like I'm hanging out with Justin Donald. I don't know if you know Justin. Mm-hmm. We hung out yesterday, the day before. We're going to have dinner today. Yeah. And he's one of those guys that's uber rich, but you wouldn't necessarily know it, yeah. Right? But then he just became very generous and sharing what happened. Mm-hmm. Now, most people that are poor think that it's about what you could save, and that's kind of where my family came from, right? What you can hold on to, what you can cut back on, reduce expenses, but no one shrinks their way to wealth. The wealthy go, hey, look, the dollar's losing value because of inflation, so they know to buy assets. Mm-hmm. They focus on cash flow over accumulation. Mm-hmm. They actually get really focused and dialed in and grow their investment IQ, not just grow their portfolio at the expense of like their knowledge.
Pause. Grow their investment IQ.
Right. We have to become better investors.
Okay, there we go.
And so here's the good news. Yeah. It means 80+% of what we need to know about money doesn't matter. Yeah. Meaning, I don't love investing in real estate. Mm-hmm. There's a few reasons. One, if I'm investing in real estate, I'm talking to bankers, attorneys, property managers, maintenance people, and tenants. None of those, when I see on my account, I'm going, dude, this is going to be an amazing day. Right? Yeah. So I'm like, that's just not my jam. Yeah. My real estate's the 10 books I wrote.
Yes.
I love to sit down and write. Not everybody does, but that's my investor DNA.
Because it produces.
Right. And so the people that are wealthiest invest first in themselves to increase their value, and then invest in people to employ that value in the world in an exponential way. People that remain like kind of at a ceiling think it's about how much they can do instead of how much they can build with other people's time, ability, and money. Rich people realize time is something that they can actually outsource so that they free it up, that money is something that they could raise so they don't have to use all their own, and ability is something you could acquire if they have a big enough vision that it inspires people.
What ability are you working on right now that you suck at?
Oh, I'm working on being a steward instead of sloppy. I'd be worth tens of millions more right now. Tens of millions if I wasn't sloppy.
I love
Number one. Number two
this.
Is I feel like I'm almost there, but I've been overcoming my people-pleasing nature at the expense of living my richest life.
Okay, go into that.
So one, I hit this point where I was like, more doesn't equal better. More equals robbing moments and presence. And if I can't be present, no matter how much money I have, I'm not wealthy.
Facts.
And so that's the muscle I'm building, how to be present.
Yes.
Not having regret about the past or worry about the future, just being I'm from a family of warriors.
Yes.
Like I just inherited on the entire side of my family. Like if there's anything you count on, is they're worrying about something right now. Right? So it's like, I remember one time I put my parents in this like magnificent house and then we hit some cash flow issues and they were like, my mom was worried about me and I was like, I'm sorry to put this stress on you. And she's like, well, if I wasn't worried about this, it'd just be something else.
Something else, exactly.
I was like, damn, that's so freeing to be like, yeah, she would just be worried about something else.
Correct.
So I'm really working on being present. I'm really working on being generous, but also taking care of myself.
Yes.
Right? So not giving at the expense of who I am, not doing things just to be liked, but to just make sure I'm like knowing my value, standing my value, and be willing to say no if it robs me of being present or would make me sloppy.
Yes.
So literally I spent last Saturday being like, all right, I'm going to go through every contract that needs to be handled. I'm going to get the attorneys involved. We're going to make sure that everything has an agreement instead of just a conversation.
Yes.
So it's materialized. And so that's a muscle I had to build that if I would have done in the past, again, be worth a lot more money.
Okay, so.
That's hard to admit because I would never let my clients get away with that shit.
Yes.
But, just like I talk to attorneys that don't have their legacy plan done.
Facts.
And I talk to accountants that are, not taking care of that. It's like, okay, that's where I was sloppy.
Yes. Okay. So what if you were not sloppy and had tens of millions more? What would be different?
Just one thing.
What?
Well, two things. Life would just be a little less chaotic because sloppiness creates like chaos. And I'd probably have a private jet.
Yes, and a private jet. I hear that. Okay.
Because everything else, like we have the lifestyle that we want. It's like we're good.
Because I also am friends with Justin Donald and all the different guys here who are awesome and epic. I have the good fortune, and I know you do too, of hearing terms like, oh, I'm not as liquid as I was last year, or whatever the case may be, right? And to the layman regular person out there, they have no clue what that means. Yeah. But to people in the money world, we know that that means that your stuff is tied up in a bunch of assets and different things, and you don't have as much cash flow in your bank account.
Right.
Now tell me how you treat that, because we already know how most regular Americans treat it, which is, I'm broke, everything's wrong with me, my life is terrible, I'm fucked up. There's a scarcity and lack that comes. How does that, when you're not as liquid as you would like to be, what goes on in your consciousness and what choices do you make while that's happening?
So if I don't have as many resources at my disposal, I just get way more resourceful. And so I always think of like, if we think we have a money problem, it's never really a money problem as much as people don't want to hear that. It's either a mental capital issue, our ideas, knowledge, wisdom, insights, strategies, or relationship capital problem.
Yes.
The people, networks, organizations, mentors, friends, family that we hang out with. If someone has a faulty framework in their mind, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the ability, well, they're just going to feel like victims and they're not going to do anything. I'd just be like, all right, who do I know? Like, for example, I want to, it's like, I've been so anti-social media, So like, compared to my book sales, compared to like my database, I have this very small social media following, but I see you have a big social media following. I'm like, cool, I got to learn from you. Right? So first I want to just give as much as I can to you. Like, how do I show up? How can I add value? What could I do? But then I'm also going to, if you're like, hey, how can I help you? I'm like, hey, dude, can you teach me? That's resourceful.
Yes.
Most people aren't willing to receive help because they think it makes them look weak to ask for it. And that's the issue. If people want to have more wealth, it's not always about giving more. It's about receiving more. And they're blocking that receiving because they think being vulnerable is a problem. Being asked for help is a problem. They think that I'll just give. But then they don't actually allow other people to give to them. And if I give to you, it actually makes me feel better about myself. So if you allow me to give, that's better for both of us. You receive, I give, and we keep going back and forth and we play the value creation game.
All things are cycling and circling. Yes. Okay, so if somebody walked in to this podcast studio with a gun and they were like, we're going to kill everybody if you, Garrett Gunderson, do not create a $1 million company based off something that is other than comedy, music, or what you're currently doing, what would you choose? So you had to make it all over again, start at zero, and get to, quote unquote, $1 million in something that is not comedy, not writing books, not music. Where do you go?
Well, it's like, my cheat code would be, I would just call some of my friends that are worth a ton of money, and I'm going to be your spokesperson for the next 6 months. And you're just going to pay me based upon the increased revenue that I can directly generate for you. And I could get there in probably 3.
Okay. So then the stipulation was, okay, awesome, but no, it has to be something you're extraordinarily passionate about.
Oh, okay. Extraordinarily passionate about. I can't use comedy. I'm not that good with music. So like sometimes I'm at the airport carrying around a guitar because I do this theatrical keynote. People are like, dude, I bet you're an amazing guitarist. I'm like, I have the hair, not the ability. I look the part, but I don't play it. So what would I do? I would actually get with my wife and say, we're going to totally help people transform their life around health because we're so connected and she's such a good researcher and I'm really articulate and there's so much pain because I think of like what my son went through and I was like, we're going to do whatever it takes to get him healthy. He's healthy, right? And we just met so many fascinating people. And in my business, I worked with so many people in the health space. And I just think people are like, just like wealth, people are just as confused about health. And so even though I'm not a doctor, doesn't matter, I'm a connector. So I would leverage that.
You do that. Okay. Dope. All right. So...
and I'm passionate about it.
I love that, dude. That's a really important one, too. You seem to find the most important ones to hone in on. So, okay, you've been around a lot of people. You coached a lot of people. You've done some rounds. When you've seen people fall and fall hard, what's the top 3 mistakes you've seen people make around their career success, etc., which then always goes into money?
They put their goals ahead of people. That's the first one. And when you're around someone that their goals are all that matter, you feel unseen, unheard, and unimportant. And so even though like the people that like them with a click, the people that love them don't like them.
Boom. Dude, that is such a good point. I've been quoted on like probably 50 podcasts saying, and shout out to Jay Shetty. I'm not saying this is as war or anything, but like, even though my audience is smaller, there are more people who love me, not just like me, love me. And so if I was going against, let's say, Jay Shetty's audience, I think mine would win because they love me, right? It's not just kinda.
There's a level of intensity, energy, and connection.
There's also people who hate me, a lot of them.
Which is going to happen.
Right? There's a whole bunch, too.
It's like when I wrote Killing Sacred Cows, my wife had this study group, right? Like, or book club. We would call it. It was a book club. But she was pregnant, so she didn't go the week that they read my book. And they hated it. And someone told her, like, oh, they were so mean about your husband's book. And she was crying in it. I was like, babe, if those socialist bitches like my book, I'd have to rewrite it.
Yeah, I got to do it differently. Exactly.
It's like, of course they hate it.
Yeah, I didn't write it for them.
It's like, fine. You know, it's going to be part of the process.
I love that. Okay, what's another mistake you see? So goals over humanness and connection. What else?
Trying to do too much themselves versus growing people around them. And that was a mistake I made. Not thinking about, I should grow my team. To grow this, I thought, I'll do more.
Yes.
And then you just hit a ceiling at a certain point.
Yeah.
Marriage ends up suffering.
Yep.
Health ends up suffering. All that kind of stuff because there's only so much one person can do.
Facts. Okay. That is really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Third thing, if it pops up.
They actually think the solution to all problems is make more money, which ends up being the cycle of inefficiency.
Yep.
So they need to learn how to keep more money. They need to learn how to grow their money. But more than anything, if you grow your money, but you don't grow yourself, that gap is called risk. So the flow of money is to your skills first, your value creation comes through those skills, and wealth follows. But if people go, I want to just buy this thing because I think it's going to do well because someone told me a story, whether it goes up or down, they don't really understand or have control over it. So if it goes up, it will create more risk for them because like, oh, I should do more. I'm really smart. And then they do other stuff and they end up losing it. If it goes down, they feel really bad about themselves because they skip the step of growing themselves, their skills, their value, that.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to tack on for anybody listening that from what I've seen, inside of the growing themselves piece is addressing core wounds and traumas. Because there's so much hungry ghost energy where there's this book called Healing the Shame That Binds You. And in that book, he talks about how the screw up or the fuck up and the overachiever and perfectionist often have the same toxic shame that's under, right?
I agree.
They choose different ways to mask that shame, right? The screw up says, I'll screw it all up because I'm already a piece of crap. The perfectionist and the overachiever says, I'll make so much money. I'll climb to the top. I'll do more so that you won't ever see how much I actually hate myself.
That initial ambition usually comes from those same wounds and eventually is the thing that is soulless. Like no matter how much you add, there's no fulfillment.
Facts.
Like, I mean, I've done a lot of like somatic work and going back to my childhood and being like, I got hit in a car when I was 3. That created my perfectionism because I watched my mom in panic. I watched my dad show up in his coal mining outfit with coal on his face in panic. I watched my grandparents. I'm like, if I'm not perfect, I hurt the people I love. That was a 3-year-old belief before my brain was developed. And then at 5, I don't memorize my address to get back an art project that was on the shelf. And I'm the only one in the class that they threw it away of because I didn't memorize it. And I said, I'm stupid. So I'm going to make so much money people don't think I'm stupid. Right? And so I could just go through these different events that when I'm a child that I didn't think about that start governing things, but it governs it that you can't go past. You hit a ceiling, right?
Oof. Okay. Now I'm about to ask you something really difficult that you don't have to answer. So are you aware that taxes are optional?
You and I were texting a little bit about this. Like I have one friend that I think knows the system and knows not how to do it. But I've seen people that don't know how to do it that go to jail. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the way I do it is I just show people how to reduce and still pay instead of opt out.
I hear you. Okay.
You probably know that person that I've mentioned too.
How important are trust?
Actual, like, setting up a trust? I think it's not even an option. They're imperative for everyone. Now, for people that are just starting out, a revocable living trust is the way to go, which is You put stuff in it, you take stuff out. There's no real value to it while you're alive. But as soon as you die, you can spell out how you want things to happen. And it can really protect your assets, because what if you're in an accident and someone sues your family? Like, I've just seen that happen. Now, as you're wealthy, a irrevocable trust, that's kind of the Rockefellers, own nothing, control everything, that can help you to protect your assets. It can help you to protect and shield from estate taxes. That can help with a number of things, but you can still have access to it through something called a distribution trustee. That you can fire and hire someone new if they don't do what you want. So it's like, again, own nothing, control everything. And then if you don't have one, it goes to the public system. We could look up Howard Hughes, and all of his assets were public. It took 20 years for the money to actually get distributed, with court fees and all that to go to cousins because he wasn't married. Or we could look at Prince. We could see what happened with Prince. Or we could look at what happened with James Gandolfini, because they didn't have a trust. So if you have a trust, you can keep that private and you can direct it how you want to go.
Chadwick Boseman, same thing happened. The guy from Black Panther and all the other movies.
There was like a amazing actor that happened to do Black Panther, right? Like he was like a
He's
classically trained, like already like he could do anything, and then you know crushed it with that.
That is really interesting. I know everybody's listening. Like, let that really land for yourself. Trusts are highly important. An irrevocable trust. Can you pull anything back out of an irrevocable trust?
So a domestic asset protection trust, they sometimes call it DAPT, allows you to select your distribution trustee. So you could be like, cool, like my mom was my first distribution trustee. Then my sister was my second one. My mom's like, I'm getting old. I don't want to deal with this stuff. And, you know, I could just say, hey, I want this money. They send it. If they go, no, I'm like, you're fired, and just hire someone new. So that's the way you get through irrevocable trust while you're alive.
So we know that Jeff Bezos and a bunch of these guys are in the like 3% tax bracket kind of thing because they play these games. And then
they could borrow against stock. That's 0%. Right?
Wasn't Elon, didn't he take a loan from himself or something like that? Or he did some version of that where he borrowed against something. You
could borrow against your stock and then essentially not pay tax on that. You could borrow against cash value if it's in life insurance, not pay tax on that. You can, borrow against real estate. So like, that's the thing is, there's this whole story that was going around forever. It's like Warren Buffett pays a lower tax rate than his secretary. And it's true. Because she's on a W-2, so she pays ordinary income. If he cashes out stock, which he doesn't, because he just doesn't spend any money, because he has an unlimited McDonald's card, and people pay for everything that he does because they want him around because he's fun, and and then he just could borrow against that stock and pay, or even if he cashes it out, it's capital gains, which is 20% versus 37.5%. So it's also, I just kind of want to address this misnomer. People all the time are pissed at corporations. Oh, these guys, Jeff Bezos isn't paying tax. I'm like, are you kidding me? Self-employment tax? Amazon is paying so much self-employment tax. They're paying so much property tax. There's all these excise taxes. And everyone acts like income tax is the only tax. It's only one tax. There's like a dozen other taxes people pay. And yet we want to vilify that. And I'm like, wait, do we want to take money from them? They're pretty damn efficient. And give it where? Where's that going? How efficient is it? How effective is it?
Facts.
I
think it is that in the mainstream. There's the vilification of rich people in general, but especially people like that who are the 1% of the 1%.
Right.
I think it's also a jealousy and a like, how can I do that thing? And there's just a lot out there. I just want to caution everybody to do your own research. We are not telling you what to do at all.
Right.
And success leaves clues. And there's a lot of people who've done a lot of work to figure out how to make this life awesome. With that said, what do you believe the meaning and purpose of life is?
I believe it's to return into oneness, and we just learn our lessons from lifetime to lifetime until we finally realize it's all love.
Let's go.
And then we just return home and we stop reincarnating.
Let's go. Dude, we're so similar. That's that Leo energy right there. I've damn near said something so similar. Okay. I've heard on another podcast that your wife is Catholic.
Was.
Oh, was. Okay.
Retired Catholic.
Got it. Do you guys practice a religion and give that to your kids as well? Or like, how do you guys work that out?
So we're part of something called the Path of Light and Sound. It's a meditation practice.
Okay.
And my wife dedicates 10% of her day to God through the meditation practice, which means she meditates for 2.5 hours a day. And the entire practice is giving and receiving love from God, which is really ourselves and understanding that love and oneness. And so I am more in like service in the world and less meditation.
Yes.
I'm very inconsistent.
Yes.
I did a meditation retreat where I meditated 5 hours a day because there's no phones and I have the space to do it. But like this morning, I meditated for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I got up and took a walk.
Yep.
And I listened to a talk by my spiritual mentors, which I had dinner with last night. So we retired from Catholicism, even though we got married in the Catholic Church. Our oldest son did get baptized. Yes. And then for us, it was like, we cannot be part of a pedophilia ring. Mm-hmm. We cannot be part of an intermediary that tells us they know our relationship with God and that we can't have something direct. And we can't really be part of cannibalism because they actually literally believe that the Eucharist is the body and blood of Jesus. I'm like, the dude's gone through enough. Why are we eating him?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. And so for us, I mean, that's more than I would normally share, but we just decided, we're retired from that. And if that's what other people's path is, great. It stops serving us.
Yes.
I don't let my mom know this isn't about like me not honoring our family.
Yes.
It's about me having a direct relationship with God. And she's like, cool, as long as you have a relationship with God. She was in mushrooms when I told her that.
You got to tell that story if you can.
Okay, yeah, well, like, it's funny because my mom grew up Catholic. My dad grew up Mormon.
Yes.
And my dad's great-great-grandfather was president of the Mormon Church. Mm-hmm. And my mom's Catholic family was like 7 days a week, go to church and kneel and pray every single day, right? So I grew up, I did the altar boy thing, I went to Catholic school for 8 years, all that kind of stuff. When I met my wife, she was Catholic. It's like, shit, we live in Utah and you're a Catholic? Let's get married. And so I started to go through MDMA somatic therapy in 2019. It was really helpful. And someone said, oh, that's a good start. You should do this other thing. And I went and it was like a combination of medicines. And it was like this really profound, enlightening experience. So I was like, I want my parents to do it. My sister's like, they're never going to do it. I'm like, I'm a writer. It's time to write a letter. It was a very great letter with a tiny bit of manipulation. I said, I've already paid the money. I've got 3 people that will come to the cabin and facilitate for us. If you guys choose not to do it, I'm just going to let them keep the money. And I know my mom, they're like, we cannot waste money.
Yes.
I was like, I've got a doctor for you to talk to because she had a kidney transplant and he can assess and make sure it's safe for you. And that was such a beautiful experience that my parents did it actually twice. And it just like brought our family together and had like really open conversations. I was like, hey, we don't have to like keep secrets. We could just, like, my mom had kidney disease and wasn't telling us what's going on. And then she comes to my son's baseball game and I could see her cysts were bursting and she was in pain. I'm like, what's going on? And they were hiding it from us because they didn't want to worry us. I'm like, we could discuss hard things. We can connect. If you don't think I'm doing a good job as a dad, tell me so I can improve. Like, don't leave it as a blind spot. So that's what it opened up for us. And we had these like really deep conversations about religion and spirituality and all that kind of stuff.
All paths, in my opinion, lead to the same place, which is God, right? There's no place where it isn't.
I'm with you.
And when plant medicine, meditation, whatever the choice you make, if it opens the heart and brings people closer, I am all for it. And I absolutely love, again, same thing, and we started this by me acknowledging you about your boys, but that too, that's a really big testament to how they see you and the trust that you've built over time with your parents. And I often have my clients go through this process where they cut the second umbilical cord, right? Because the first one gives us life, the second one often holds us back. And most people are unconsciously, invisibly attached to their parents, and they play out this arrested development in these human big boy, big girl bodies where they are constantly trying to prove or avoid or play this game from the 9-year-old wound or whatever.
Totally.
And so for you to...
It's one of our biggest lessons is from parents.
Facts.
And if we break free of that. And
right?
still show love.
That. So I absolutely love that. I did a similar thing with some other stuff with my parents, and I remember I called my dad, I think it was 2011, and I said, listen, man, I know we haven't talked in years, but I want to be your best friend in this lifetime. We don't know each other. We've been a family of secrets. We don't really talk about anything. We never talked about your drug issues. We just hide it and sweep it under the rug, and I'm done with that. He said, whatever you're doing, I'm in. And it was one of those moments where, you know, when he died in 2019, I was so grateful that I had taken the path of courage and went into what most people just let die off over years. And I just want to acknowledge you for that as well, because that's a really big deal, man.
It's pretty cool, like going hunting with my dad every year. You know, we just get all this time, like we have a 12-hour drive this last year. And like, you know, just he writes me a handwritten note afterwards, and it's like he's always preparing and staying in shape because of it. And yeah, so it's like a really cool experience. And sometimes I'll take like this book and I'll just ask him questions about his childhood and his regrets and all this stuff, and learn all this stuff about him, right? And it's like, because I regret that with my grandpa. He was like a hero of mine, and I never asked him enough questions. And I'm like, I wonder like how he felt about things, where what experiences he had, what it was like being a kid, what it was like, you know, when he married my grandma, and he was really dark skinned and she was really light skinned, and like, you know, and his family was one way and her family didn't approve, and what, like, how did they heal that? Like, so many questions. Or what was his dad like, who was my great grandfather that came over from Italy to America, and you know, what did you learn from him? What do you think about him? Just I think curiosity and questions can just give you so much access, and people want to be seen and heard.
That they do. And you know, things are passed down, right? There's the actual family heirlooms, and then there's energetic, emotional,
the epigenetics, cellular, like,
right.
Yeah.
So when we shine a light on them, when we have an understanding of what has occurred, my mom watched her brother get his entire face blown off in front of her, and that has had an effect on how she raised me, right? Like, there's all these
There's a certain amount of fear that comes from something like that.
Yes, right? There's all these things that when you understand, well, oh, my grandmother cheated on her husband with another guy who was this white guy, and that's my mom's dad, not my grandfather. And they hid that from the whole family for 50 years,
all that,
right? 50 years of suppression. What that does, how you navigate a life.
I'm just going to continue from generation to generation until it's acknowledged, addressed, and then it breaks it off.
That. So I just genuinely want to say thank you for pulling up, man. We're about at time. If you haven't bought this book, get it.
I'll just give it to people. They can just DM me, Garrett B. Gunderson on Instagram.
Yep.
And just put Preston, and we'll hook you up with the audiobook of Money Unmasked.
Say that one more time, that your Instagram, so they can follow you on there.
Garrett B. as in boy, Gunderson. Garrett B. Gunderson, 2 R's, 2 T's, and then just DM me, Preston, and I'll know it's from you, and we'll hook him up with the audiobook.
I'll also put his stuff on my Instagram, and you'll see some of the clips from this interview. So, man, thank you.
Thanks, dude.
Absolute
I really
pleasure. Appreciate it.
You almost stumped me. You came close. I was like, oh damn, I really dig on this. You promised.
Yeah. We go there, man.
Yeah.
This is a part of the flow, man.
It's good.
So appreciate you. Everybody have a beautiful, blessed day. We're deeply grateful for you. Right? It's not easy to be human in this life, and you keep getting back up. You keep figuring it out. You keep digging in and trying to open your heart. And from my heart, Garrett's heart, to yours, we just want to acknowledge you and tell you that we're proud of you. It's a big deal. Blessings and blessings.